Something significant is developing across multiple fronts in technology and global affairs. Today, we are covering 5 major stories that together paint a picture of where our world is heading and why the next few months could be more consequential than anything we have seen in years. To understand the full weight of what is happening, we need to step back and look at the context. Each of these stories connects to a broader pattern that most coverage is missing entirely. We are going to change that right now. Let us talk about My Boss Loves ChatGPT. Must I fake loving it too? The New York Times. My boss loves ChatGPT. Must I fake loving it too? And NBSB. The New York Times. This matters because it represents a fundamental shift in how institutions and individuals are being forced to adapt. When we look at the data behind this move, a much more complex picture begins to emerge. It is a step change that demands our full attention right now. The lesson here is simple. Visibility into these changes early is the only way to stay ahead of the curve. That is the core takeaway from this development that we need to keep in mind. But that is not the only major development demanding our attention. Let us talk about AI startup Cursor in talks to raise $2 billion funding round at valuation of over $50 billion, CNBC. AI startup Cursor in talks to raise $2 billion funding round at valuation of over $50 billion and NBSP. CNBC. The downstream effects of this development will likely be felt in ways most people haven't even considered yet. Analysts who have been tracking this space for years are saying this moment is different. It is not just a gradual evolution. It is a step change that demands our full attention right now. We have seen similar inflection points in the past, and history shows that those who adapt early are the ones who thrive. That is the core takeaway from this development that we need to keep in mind. Now here is where it gets even more interesting. Let us talk about, should you really trust health advice from an AI chatbot? BBC. Should you really trust health advice from an AI chatbot? And NBSB. BBC. It is a classic example of how technological acceleration is outpacing our current social and legal frameworks. The numbers tell a story that goes much deeper than the surface headlines would suggest. It is a step change that demands our full attention right now. It is a reminder that in a world of constant disruption, the ability to read the signals is a survival skill. That is the core takeaway from this development that we need to keep in mind. And then there is the story that is perhaps the most significant of all. Let us talk about, if I had $10,000 to put into AI stocks right now, here's exactly how I'd invest it. The Motley Fool. If I had $10,000 to put into AI stocks right now, here's exactly how I'd invest it. And NBSB. The Motley Fool. If you look closely, this is the first real sign that the industry is moving towards a completely different model. It is not just about the technology itself, but about the systemic shift it implies for the global economy. It is a step change that demands our full attention right now. This is more than just a news story. It is a preview of the reality we will all be living in within the next few years. That is the core takeaway from this development that we need to keep in mind. The fourth piece of this puzzle is something the mainstream coverage has largely ignored. Let us talk about Versal breach tied to context AI hack exposes limited customer credentials. The Hacker News. Versal breach tied to context AI hack exposes limited customer credentials. And NBSB. The Hacker News. The people most affected by this are rarely the ones making the decisions, and that gap is growing wider every week. The window to understand these consequences before they fully arrive is narrowing faster than we think. It is a step change that demands our full attention right now. Carried forward, this perspective changes how we need to evaluate every other development in this space. That is the core takeaway from this development that we need to keep in mind. So, what do all of these stories have in common? They each represent a system under pressure. Whether it is technological disruption, political realignment, or economic uncertainty, the underlying force is the same. The pace of change is outrunning the pace of adaptation. And the people who are paying attention, who are building their understanding now, are the ones who will navigate this successfully. The implications for you personally are real and immediate. Every one of these developments has a downstream effect on jobs, on markets, on the information you consume, and on the decisions you will have to make in the next 6 to 12 months. We are not talking about abstract geopolitical chess. We are talking about your life. That is why staying informed is not optional anymore. It is a competitive advantage. The people who understand what is happening, who can read the signals before they become headlines, are the ones who will be prepared. And that is exactly what we are here for. If this breakdown gave you clarity on what is actually happening in the world right now, hit the like button. It genuinely helps us reach more people who need this kind of analysis. Subscribe so you do not miss our next deep dive. And drop a comment below. Which of today's stories do you think matters most? We read every single one.